Dreamhack Dallas 2023 happened this past weekend, and even though Crown the Third, the other tournament that happened that same weekend, was defined by its up-and-comers, namely Zomba, Dreamhack Dallas was seemingly the opposite. It had players that made great runs, but those players were not new faces to the Smash scene whatsoever. In fact, a lot of the top 8 of this tournament were old faces that hadn't placed in quite some time, making a triumphant placement at Dreamhack Dallas. Today, we'll be going over the top 8 of Dreamhack Dallas 2023 and how the old guard of Smash stepped up to the plate. Let's start off with our 7th place finishers, Caden and DJ Don. DJ Don is someone we've covered on the channel before, fairly recently in fact, but let's go ahead and start with Caden first. Caden is a Ridley player, making this one of the only times in recent memory that a Ridley has placed top 8 at a tournament this large, and as the 21st seed, Caden made quite a good run this weekend with an SPR of +3. Caden started off the weekend by making it through pools, only dropping one game to Demothan, but still taking the set, on his way to top 32. It was here that Caden got perhaps their most impressive win of the tournament, a Game 5 win over J Mafia. This good victory was an upset factor 7 win, with Caden being the 21st seed and J Mafia being the 5th. This put Caden up against Beastly, someone we've talked about before on the channel. We'll cover them more in depth later, but for now, Caden and Beastly had to throw down for the winner's side top 8 qualifier. In the end, Beastly defeated Caden 3-0, setting him down to losers. Caden got a good win over Ray here, another player who went on a good run themselves. Caden won Game 5, making it into top 8. Once in top 8, Caden had to go up against MVD, a name you'll hear quite a bit today, as they were the losers bracket demon of this tournament.
Golden disadvantage, do not let those up airs trade. This one will, but for the damage at this percent, I think it's worth it. The back air though, MVD calling out Caden's movement and stifling all of that momentum that Caden was rocking with.
In the end, Caden lost to MVD 3-1, being eliminated at 7th. Now we get to our other 7th place finisher, DJ Don. Don is a player who, like we discussed earlier, we've covered before in our MomoCon 2023 video. DJ Don came into the event as the 13th seed, starting off the weekend by getting through pools, only dropping one game to PictoChat GF in the process on his way to top 32. Now in top 32, DJ Don suffered a Game 5 loss against Beastly, someone else we've covered on the channel before. Now that he was in losers, DJ Don got a good win over Grayson, who was the 8th seed in a close Game 5 set. This was Don's first upset on his way to top 8. He then defeated Trey 5 of Hello Steve Game before going up against Doofus for the losers top 8 qualifier. In the end, DJ Don defeated Doofus in a close Game 5 set, making his way into top 8. Don then went up against Lima, a set that went down to a Game 5.
The way that he's dodged through. Oh, still teching on the plat. Command grab, taking Lima off stage.
Bayhead is just standing there in the minecart too. Oh, you're in the house! You're inside the fun house! Get out!
It's not a fun house to be in. It's not. That's not what we want to call it. It's the unfun house. It's a maze.
Oh
but
my
the back air
goodness.
does come through. Lima finally.
Don lost another close Game 5 to Lima, being eliminated at 7th. Now, I'm a true DJ Donner myself, so I would have loved to see his run continue, since he almost got a big upset over Lima, but alas, it was not meant to be. Now we get to our 5th place finishers, Johnny and Beastly. Hey, so fun fact, we've covered both of these players before on the channel, and in the same exact video in fact, my video on Low Tide City 2023, where Johnny got 7th and Beastly got 5th. Let's talk about the one who improved on that placement, Johnny, first. Johnny entered the event as the 6th seed, outplacing his seed, although, you can't really get 6th at a tournament, which means that no matter what, Johnny was either going to underplace or outplace his seed. Isn't that weird? Anyways, Johnny started off the weekend by sweeping his pool without dropping a single game, before moving on to win his first match of top 32 into 3-1. This meant that Johnny went up against Doofus, someone we were just talking about, in winners quarterfinals for a spot in winners top 8. But in the end, Johnny beat Doofus 3-0. Johnny then went up in winners semifinals against Dakpo, one of the old guard defenders featured for today's video. Johnny lost 3-1, dropping down to losers, where he had to, like Caden, face MVD.
On that platform. Okay. He said, if I just go fast.
Zoom to the blast zone. Those boots coming through for MVD.
Johnny lost a set against MVD 3-1, being eliminated 5th. Now we move on to our other 5th place finisher, Beastly. Beastly came into the event as the 4th seed, and just like Johnny, is someone we covered in my Low Tide City 2023 video, where I believe I mistakenly called him a Steve player. My bad, guess that's what happens when you make a video about a tourney that has no VODs, released only to have the VODs released the very next day after you upload the video, even though you had to upload the video to make your upload schedule, and you just assumed the VODs would be out in time because it's a major. Why wouldn't the VODs be out in time? But that'll teach me to make such assumptions again, and no, I'm definitely still not salty about this, even though that video is the one I'm the least proud of because of it. No, not salty at all! What were we talking about? Right, Beastly. Beastly started off the weekend by getting through his pool without dropping a game, a sweep that included his win over Peach Fuzz, an Isabel player, a set that was notably streamed. Beastly got through his pool flawlessly, just like Johnny did, before having a close call with DJ Don, though Beastly defeated Don in Game 5. Beastly then defeated Caden to make it into winners top 8, where he had to go up against Mudace. In the end, Beastly was defeated 3-0 by Mutes, sent down to losers to fight Lima, a set that went similarly to his set with Mute.
For both players.
He's a fighter to the very bitter end, and he is focused right now. It's not giving Lima any of those really funny set enders, right? Looking for a few reads on a wayward jump or roll, but Beastly's not panicking right now. Still in a pretty good spot in terms of percentages. Not immediately done just yet, but Lima, aggressive off the stage, catches that monkey flip.
Beastly lost 3-0 to Lima, being eliminated 5th. Now we move on to our 4th place finisher, Lima, who we were just talking about. Lima came into the event as the 2nd seed and is our first of our 3 old guard players that we'll be talking about today, who did excellently at Dreamhack this past weekend. Lima started off the weekend by sweeping his pool without dropping a game, just like our last 2 players that we talked about. Now in top 32, Lima had to go up against Cannon Red, one of the Midwest's hidden bosses, straight out of pools. Lima defeated Cannon Red 3-0 and moved on. It was here that Lima went into winner's quarters and went up against Dakpo, a set that went down to a very close Game 5. Lima lost Game 5, being upset by Dakpo and being sent down to losers very early. After defeating Atomic 3-0, Lima made losers side top 8, where he became sort of a secondary losers bracket demon, defeating DJ Dawn 3-2 and then Beastly 3-0 like we've discussed. Lima then wound up in loser semifinals against his fellow demon, MVD. In the end, Lima lost to MVD 3-1, being eliminated 4th. Now we get to our 3rd place finisher, Dakpo. Dakpo is a player you've likely heard of before, but a player who hasn't gotten results at a tournament this large in a long time. Dakpo is one of our old guard players who stepped up to the plate this weekend and adapted against the shifting tide of Ultimate scene and meta to prove that they've still got what it takes. Dakpo ended up with a +4 SPR this weekend, the highest of anyone in the top 8, and ended with a total upset factor of 8, attributed to multiple upsets that we'll cover. Dakpo came into the event as the 10th seed, but had a fire lit under them this weekend, which they fueled by sweeping pools without dropping a game, their set against Zenim being notably streamed. Dakpo then, right out of pools, got their first upset of the tournament, defeating Teaser 3-1. This was Dakpo's first upset, with Teaser being the 7th seed, but it wasn't their last. Dakpo then went up against Lima, the 2nd seed, and defeated them in winner's quarters in a close Game 5 set, the best upset of the tournament. But wait, there's more. Dakpo then went up in winners semifinals against Johnny, the 6th seed, and defeated him 3-1. This is a streak of 3 upsets in a row that cannot be understated in their impressiveness or importance. Dakpo then went up in winners finals against Mutes, the 1st seed. Dakpo lost the set 3-1 to Mutes, being sent down to losers finals to fight the demon of the losers bracket himself, MVD.
Dakpo does not close this out. He's at 182, and this is actually worse. And he forgets where it's at. MVD does it again. He was so far behind.
Dakpo lost to MVD 3-0, being eliminated at third. Dakpo had what was the most impressive upset and the most impressive SPR of the bracket, and I would even be so bold as to claim that Dakpo had the most impressive performance of this entire top 8. And now we move on to our top 2 finishers, MVD and Mutes. MVD served as the demon of the losers bracket, while Mutes was our winners bracket sweeper. Let's cover Mutes first. Mutes came into the event as the first seed and continued to have insane dominance over smaller majors and regionals. Well, except for Gateway Legends anyways. Mutes started off by sweeping his pool without dropping a game, meaning that yes, of our top 8 players, only 3 of them dropped any games in pools, our 7th place finishers being 2 of them, and our 3rd being MVD, who we'll talk about later and who dropped just a little bit more than a game. Once in top 32, Mutes went up against Yanni. That's a name you haven't heard in a while. This set would go down to a game 5.
But at this point, you're getting close to throw ranges for Peach too. So down air, maybe?
Off the top, it does?
We just watched a down air from Peach kill in the year 2023. What an insane set, though.
After this Game 5 clutch, Mutes swept the rest of his bracket, defeating Skeleton 3-1, Beastly 3-0, and then Dakpo 3-1 to make Grand Finals winner's side. Now let's talk about the other side of Grands, MVD. MVD was the 3rd seed coming into the event, and while yes, MVD did outplace their seed, many people would have actually considered this an overseeding going into the tournament. A lot of people discounted MVD, claiming he's washed and has a lack of results. Sure, he may have had good results when the game first came out, but that was then, and this is now. Ultimate's scene and meta has changed so much, and many would argue that MVD is just a washed old guard player that can't keep up with today's gameplay anymore. And at first, they seem to be correct. MVD went through pools pretty normally at first, not dropping a game. That was until he went up against Doofus.
High up B, and the same goes for MVD going all the way up there. Gonna take him a minute to get out of that magnifying glass, but take it off the top, and Doofus pulling off not only an upset victory over MVD.
So remember when I said that Dakpo's win over Teaser was the most impressive upset of the tournament? Yeah, well, except for this one. Doofus got an upset factor 9 upset, defeating MVD and sending him down to losers extremely early, not even out of pools. MVD was able to make it out of pools though, and now in top 32. In top 32, MVD defeated PictoChat GF 3-1 before going on the most impressive losers run of the tournament. Granted, none of these were upsets, MVD being the 3rd seed, but going into these sets, nobody would blame you for thinking that MVD would lose or he was washed. But MVD wanted to prove all of the haters wrong this weekend and stepped up to the plate, defeating first Teaser 3-0, Cannon Red 3-0, and then Skeleton, a regional Kazuya hidden boss, 3-1 to make top 8. MVD took what had the potential to be his worst tournament performance ever and turned it into the loser's run of the tourney, not only defeating all 3 of these players, but doing so only dropping 1 game. Think about this. MVD dropped just as many games in pools as he did making his way to top 8. Even more, MVD dropped just as many games to PictoChat GF than to all 3 of these players he defeated in a row. MVD was now in top 8, but he's not done yet. MVD becoming the demon of this losers bracket, defeating Caden, Johnny, and Lima 3-1, and then defeating Dakpo 3-0 to make it into Grand Finals. This set, just like Gateway Legends Grand Finals, was a roller coaster, so strap in. In the end, MVD swept Mutace in the first set of Grands, before Mutace made a clutch Game 5 win in the reset, becoming the champion of Dreamhack Dallas 2023. In a meta and scene filled with young prodigies like Zomba or Acola, and even within this tournament like DJ Don, 4 players, our top 4, rose up and showed the old way of playing Ultimate was still alive and well. Mutace and Lima, while certainly not as old guardy as Dakpo and MVD, are certainly not new to the scene by any stretch of the imagination. But it was Dakpo and MVD specifically that had the best performances in this tournament, in my opinion, rising up after a long slumber to make the statement that they're not going anywhere, even in the face of an ever-changing scene. That's going to be it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. Before I go, I wanted to mention that I'll be going live at 2 p.m. CST today on the channel right here, playing Smash with viewers. I'd love to see you all tune in. Next week, we're going to be probably covering Icarus 2023 on Tuesday, and then something else on Thursday. Got any suggestions? Leave them in the comments down below. I've been Mr. Mice, and thank you all so much for watching.